Hi, this is Bonnie, and we're here for our second craft of the month. And today I'll be showing you how to do a decorative bow. The bows can be done in any size. This is a large one that I did for Wreath Outdoors for 4th of July, Independence Day. And I'll show you how to do a smaller one also for a package or the top of the tree. I'm going to start by using this wired ribbon, and I'm going to go ahead and collect my wired ribbon. I have 3 different colors, 3 different widths, and I also have what's called fuzzy sticks. We call them pipe cleaners, but pipe cleaners is a registered trademark, so we'll just call it a fuzzy stick. Now, I just buy white ones, but you can buy colored packs of the fuzzy sticks. This one, I had some blue, so I went ahead, since my ribbon was red, white, and blue, I used a blue fuzzy stick, but white is fine because as you see, the wire is hidden. You can't see it. It's inside of the bow, but this nice wire gives you some allowance so you can attach your bow to whatever item. You could even take, and if you wanted to put it, say, over the top of a tree, so it would be like a tree topper for Christmas, you could wind your fuzzy stick into a loop and just put it down over the top bow. So let me move the camera down so that you can see what I'm going to do. Now, I have in front of me, and let me just adjust this camera so you can see it a little better. I'm going to put my package of fuzzy sticks to the side, and I just have my pipe cleaner here. So I'm just going to just loop it so that I have my tails of my fuzzy stick here the same length. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but it will make a difference in the end when you go to attach it to the wreath or the tree or whatever you're going to do. Now, be sure and have a pair of craft scissors that it's okay if you cut metal with. Don't ruin your good sewing scissors by cutting metal with your good sewing scissors. So the first thing that we're going to do is make a loop for the center of the bow. So since this is a wider ribbon and it will make a larger bow, I want to make sure that I experiment first with how big I'm going to have to do that loop. And that's actually a pretty good size loop for this width of ribbon. So I'm just going to cut it square, cut it flat across. So now I have a little roll of the ribbon. I'm going to take, and on the underside where the open edges are, I'm going to squish it together and just hold it. The wires in the ribbon really help keep that in place. You can use non-wired ribbon, but your loops in your bow won't stand up as nicely. So I would use wired ribbon for your bow. So now I threaded the fuzzy stick in between the loop, and I have it around the opening. I'm going to take the fuzzy stick and I'm just going to twist it a couple of times. You don't want to have too many twists or your bow starts to build up in the center, and when you go to separate your loops to make your bow, it won't look as nice. Okay, so I have the center of my bow all ready, and I'm just going to put that down. I'll need it in a minute. Now, you need to think about, are you going to have long ribbons coming down from your bow? Or are you just going to have it a self-contained bow? I think most ribbons, when you're going to add them decoratively, you're going to want some kind of trailing down edges here so the ribbon looks nice. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start our bow at the center. So I'm going to take my ribbon, I'm going to squish it, and I'm going to make my first loop. Squish. Now I'm going to hold it together. I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to fold it to the back. Now, this is where if you want a nice small center, you take your ribbon and you give it a twist so that this ends up very thin and you don't have all the bulk. So now I have my first 2 loops made. Now I'm going to do my next 2 loops. I'm going to make these just a little longer, the loops, than the first loop. Again, I'm going to make sure that I keep that squish tight in the center. And I have my second loop on this side, and now I'm going to make my second loop on this side. I'm going to take my ribbon, I'm going to twist it to make a thin center, and I'm going to do my third loop. I usually like to use at least 4 loops on each side. I think that makes a nice full bow, but of course that's up to you, and you can use as many loops as you want, and you can have your loops get as long as you want. The wider the ribbon, the longer you would want your loops, because that's going to make a larger bow. So now I have 3 loops on each side. I'm going to add the 4th loop. It's going to be just a little bit longer than the 3rd. Twist it, bring it to the back, bring it to the center, and then, you know what? I think I'm going to make this bow 5 loops. It's a nice wide ribbon, so it's going to make a large, pretty bow. So I looped it, I twisted it, and then I brought it to the back. Now I have my bow complete, and I'm going to just take again my scissors and I'm going to cut my ribbon. Now, what I did, I'm going to add my streamers separately. So I went ahead and I cut that just long enough that the fuzzy loop will hold it in place in the center of the bow. So I have this bow, and you can see that the center is very thin because I have squished them all together. Now I'm going to take my middle loop and I'm going to place it in the center of my little petals here for my ribbon. And I'm going to pull that wire snug. Here's my loop. There's the fuzzy stick. I'm going to pull it snug, and then I'm going to take my fuzzy sticks and I'm going to twist them nice and snug to hold that in place. Now, you could, if you wanted a more rectangle bow, you could stop right here and you have a lovely bow that could be on the top of a package. Or you can spread it out, as I'm going to show you in a minute, into a wreath bow. So now, when you go to form your bow, you're going to keep your center as it is, and you're going to take your loops and you're going to pull the loops in opposite directions. So the first loop I'm going to pull in this direction. The next loop I'm going to pull in this direction. See how that already is starting to form a nice full bow? Pull that and pull this, and finally we have the last loop. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to pull the first loop in one direction, the second loop in another direction, the third loop goes in the same direction as the first, the fourth loop goes in the same direction as the second, and then I have my 5th loop that I'm just going to kind of adjust. And now we have a nice full bow, and you can work with them. You can fluff up your ribbon. The wired ribbon works so nicely because you can have it stand up in place. And now we have a large bow for the top of a tree. But I want some streamers. So we have our bow securely made with our fuzzy stick. And then I'm just going to decide how long I would like my streamers. Since this is a large bow, I'm going to have my streamers hang down plenty far. So let's say I wanted each side of my streamer to be about this long. I'm going to scrunch it, and then I'm going to just line it up, and then I know where to trim my ribbon here. Now, most of the time you leave your ribbons just cut flat across. They're very nice if you take and cut a little bit of an angle so they come to a point. And this is a little more decorative than just your very flat ribbon. So I did that on one side and I'm going to do it on the other. So now I have both sides. I'm going to go back and I'm going to find the center point of the ribbon. So my streamers will be even. And here's my center point, and I'm just going to squish it together. I'll take the bow that I already made, and I'm just going to lay the streamers in the back of the bow, and then twist my pipe cleaner. And I will have a very pretty bow with nice long streamers. Let me put this up just a little. So here is our nice full bow with long streamers. Now, if you were going to make one of these for the top of your tree, you would want these streamers probably to be even longer. Or you might do 2 or 3 sets of streamers at different lengths. And that also would look nice coming down off of a tree. The wreath, if it's a larger wreath, you could do a second set of streamers. And again, you could do them different lengths, but I'm just going to leave this one as it is. So there we have a nice bow. If you want your bow to be a little rounder, you just pull your little loops, adjust your loops, and you'll have a nice full bow for your tree or your package. Now, you can also take, and I thought this might look a little nice. I have some silver ribbon. Some people enjoy decorating in silver and gold. You could actually use any color, 2 color combinations of ribbons you would like. I'm going to use my silver first because my silver is thinner than my gold. So I'll have the thinner ribbon on the inside, and then my gold ribbon, my wider ribbon will be on the outside. So again, I'm going to take and I'm going to make a loop for my center. And let's say I want my center loop to be about that big. There's no exact science to this, you just have fun. And you learn as you go how wide to make things and how long to make things. It's just a very fun, easy way to do a bow. I have people that ask me all the time to do a bow for a gift they've made, or a wreath, or a basket, a gift basket. And they think it's really difficult, and it's so very, very easy. So there I have my silver loop. I have my fuzzy stick to hold it. I did like 2 twists to hold it together. Here's my raw edges. One is inside, one is outside. And I'm just going to lay that to the side. Then I'm going to take my same silver that I started, because this is the thinner of the 2 ribbons, and I'm going to make my first loop, hold it, my second loop. These 2 loops, the 2 loops that are opposite each other, you try and make those as close to the same length as you can. So I did 2 loops, and now I'm going to do 2 more loops. And I think I'm going to do 3 silver loops on each side. Each time I made a set of loops, the loops were a little bit longer then the first loop. Now this makes them a rectangle bow. If you wanted a really round bow, you know, for many, many years, and when I was growing up, the bows that were made were nice round. They look like little chrysanthemums or something. They were just round and pretty. And in order to do that, you would make all of your loops exactly the same length. And then it would come out this nice round bow. Most of the time now, you rarely ever see that round little pom-pom bow. You see these graduated lengths so that your bow is more elongated and it's fuller. So, okay, so now I have my silver ribbon. I'm not going to loop this. I'm not going to wire this at this time. I'm going to take my gold ribbon and I'm going to put my gold ribbon right up against the silver loops that I just made. And I'm going to start adding more loops. Each time I add another row of loops, I make them a little bit longer than the loop that was right before, because I want this bow to kind of grow as it goes. Now you see each time I bring the loop up to the center, I twist the wires in the ribbon. And since I did 3 layers of loops on the first, with the first color, I'm going to do 3 on the second color also. You could use different colors, different textures. There's so many beautiful Christmas ribbons. Okay, I have 3 loops of each color. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. So here's our bow so far. And we have the 3 silver loops on top of the 3 golden loops. Now I'm going to take my fuzzy stick, and I could have done gold ribbon for the center, a gold loop for the center, and then it would have been a contrast. I did a silver loop, and that's fine with me. Now I'm going to take my looped and wired center. I'm going to wrap my fuzzy stick around all of those layers, and then I'm going to tightly twist the fuzzy stick and hold them all in place. So when you're done, you have this kind of funny shaped crown here that actually would make a crown for a head, wouldn't it? There, if you have any Halloween costumes you need a crown for this would kind of work very nicely. You could pipe cleaner it to a headband. Hey, it might be cool. So now before I spread those open, I'm going to go ahead and cut my streamers. Since my bow is 2 colors, I'm going to do 2 colors of streamers. So I'm going to start with my silver, and this is a large bow, so my streamers can be quite long. I'm going to start with my silver ribbon, and let's say this is how long I want my first row of streamers to be. Again, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut this so it's on an angle, and I'll cut my other one so it's on an angle. Now this ribbon is pretty because it is very sparkly on one side and more of a matte finished on the other side. You really can't see it as well, but this is definitely a glitter that is coming off, where this is more of just the matte and this is a smooth side. So this is a pretty ribbon. It's not going to matter if this ribbon twists and turns, blows in the wind, because it's going to show very nicely the same silver color. So now I have this set of streamers done. Here's my open end. I'm going to scrunch together right there my center. And now I'm going to lay these down. Let's see if I can get this. So here's, oh, we're going to end up with red sparkles on it too, because we have red sparkles. So now I'm going to take my gold, because my bow is a two-tone, and I'm going to pull my gold out. I'm going to have my gold streamers be longer than my silver streamers. So let's say we want to do them maybe this long. Let me go ahead and cut that off at an angle. I cut it off at an angle. I'm going to make sure that both ends have the angle cut. And see why I'm using my craft scissors. And that way I cut right through that wire. I don't have to try and use wire cutters. Wire cutters cut wire well, but they don't cut fabric well. Okay, so here's my gold. I'm going to scrunch them up in the center. I'm going to lay my shorter silver ones on top of my gold ones. I'm going to put them together, hold them here at the top. And you see now I have 2 sets of streamers with the silver being shorter than the gold. The silver is the narrower ribbon, so that's why it will look nice with the golder ones wider. Now I take my 2 sets of streamers. I'm going to take my bow and turn it upside down. I'm going to lay the center of the streamers in against the center of the bow. And then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner again, or my fuzzy stick again, and twist it several times to keep it in place. Again, the fuzzy stick disappears, so it doesn't matter what color you use. I always have white on hand because I know that will go with anything. Now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of spreading my little streamers out and putting them in place. All right, now I'm ready to fluff up my bow. So I'm going to find my center loop where I started, which would be right here. I have 3 loops of silver. So again, you're going to take your loops and you're going to pull each loop in the opposite direction. So each time I pull a loop, it's going in the opposite direction. So now I've done one side. My wires got a little flat, no problem. I can fluff it up. So now we have half of our bow open and this half of the bow is still closed. So I'm going to flip my bow over and I'm going to do the same thing. One loop goes in one direction, one loop in the other direction. Always back and forth until you have all your loops in place. So now I have this big fluffy bow and I'm going to take it and I'm going to fluff these wires out so that the bow is nice and puffy and it's going to look so pretty. And it's the two-tone ribbon. On the screen, it really doesn't look that great, to tell you the truth. But when it's made up and when it's right here in person next to me, it really is very lovely, the silver and the gold together. So here we have another style of ribbon. Here are my streamers. I could add many, many, many layers of ribbon and make many layers of streamers. I could even, if I wanted to, I could even add some red in there. I could make it a 3-toned bow. You can just have so much fun making these bows. And you just have to look at it and you adjust your little loops. And so here we have a very pretty 2-tone bow with 2-tone streamers. Now, I usually figure that it takes 3 yards of ribbon to make your traditional bow. This spool says, I'm trying to look. Okay, this says it's 1.5 inches by 9 feet. So that's about good for a standard bow. You see, I only have this much left. I could have added that and maybe I'll put another streamer on there just to use it up. It would be a shorter streamer, but one spool of about 9 feet makes a very nice smaller bow. These larger bows, you're going to need at least 12 feet and that will give you your nice wide bow. Depending on how long you want your streamers, you might even want to buy more ribbon than that. It's best to buy, if you're going to do a larger bow, go ahead and buy 2 spools of ribbon at a time. Sometimes, especially if you buy it from, Michael's or Joann Fabrics or Hobby Lobby, they might not have the same color if you went out and go back. So you will always use it for something. Perhaps you have just this little bit of ribbon left, and so there's another bow that just you're going to add a little silver, a couple of little silver loops. There's no reason you can't add many, many different colors in a bow. You just have to remember that each time you have those raw edges that you have to hold in the center, and the center gets fuller and fuller, makes it a little more difficult to twist that fuzzy stick around in there. But you could do a very multicolored bow, lots of colors. I like this red one. It came out so pretty. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, but but I do like it. I tend to decorate my Christmas and my home in silver, gold, and burgundy. It is very hard to find burgundy ribbon. Stores get very little burgundy ribbon. Excuse me. So the minute that I see ribbon starting to come in, I start watching for burgundy. I just enjoy those colors together. And here is our two-toned one. And this, like I said, actually it's very pretty in person. The gold really doesn't, because the gold is a more transparent ribbon. You can see through it. The glitter is on top. I think that's why the silver shows up better. The silver is solid, where the gold is more transparent. And that's why the silver shows up so much better on the camera than the gold does. So you can make these any size out of any colors. You can just have so much fun with bows. This one I did very long, loopy. This is a wired ribbon, but it turned out to be not a very stiff wire in this ribbon, so it doesn't stay fluffed as well. But once you put it on a wreath and the wreath holds it in place, you'll be just fine. So have fun with your bows. Again, if you have any questions about your bows, you can contact me at bpeters@clinton.lib.mi.us, and I will be happy to answer your questions, or come into the library and I'd love to show you in person. I'm there all day Tuesday, Friday afternoon after 3, and all day Saturday. So enjoy your bow making. These could go on packages, they could go on trees, on wreaths, as centerpieces. Just have fun and enjoy making your bows. Next week, I'm going to show you how to make a last minute little candy surprise that you could give as a gift. Very easy to make, very delicious, but it's good for any last minute little treat you might need to make. So happy bow making. I will see you next week.